My name is Jacob Nyende, and the state has laid allegation on the former DP Rigathi Gachagua concerning the mayhem and the massive destruction of properties that was witnessed in the last Gen Z protest on June 25th this year, 2025, ladies and gentlemen. And the state has specifically accused Rigathi Gachagua for sponsoring goons against his own community. Because as we understand, ladies and gentlemen, most of the destruction of properties that happened during those protests happened in areas where the Kikuyus live, in community of the Kikuyus. And in his response, ladies and gentlemen, Rigathi Gachagua has responded massively to these allegations, and he has called on the states to stop taking Kenyans for granted, and also asked them to respect Kenyans. Rigathi Gachagua, in his response, he also stated that the goons were actually sponsored by the states. That is the one thing that I want us to talk about in this live session. If you are there, you are watching for the very first time, kindly take a minute, hit subscription button, smash that notification bell, and just by doing like that, ladies and gentlemen, you help me to reach a wider audience across this platform. Now, on 25th June 2025, the protests were planned to be peaceful in remembrance of the massive Kenyans who died during the 2024 Gen Z protests at Parliament Building, and also in various places in this country. These demonstrations were planned to be peaceful demonstrations without destruction of property and without the losses being incurred. And the police promised to secure lives of Kenyans and also secure people's property. But this demonstration somehow turned to be chaotic and violent. And this one, something that happened that shocked many, was the massive destruction of properties, ladies and gentlemen. If you walked in down yesterday after the demonstrations, you could realize, you could see the massive destruction of shops. And these goons seemed to be targeting specific shops, especially those ones that sold electronics. If your shop was selling things like perfumes and like body oils, then they were not touched. But the goons specifically targeted the shops that sold electronics. Now, my question comes here. Let's take, for instance, the destruction that happened in Nyeri County. In Nyeri County, ladies and gentlemen, and specifically in Naivas supermarket, goons were allowed to break into the supermarket, loot everything, including the fridges, the cookers, all those heavy things, to loot an entire store. And there was nowhere where the police officers were sent. Do the state want to tell us that there is no police officers within Nyeri? That people could break into an entire supermarket and loot for all that time without a single officer showing up? This one sends one critical message, ladies and gentlemen, that this was not by accident. This was by design, and it was well planned and orchestrated. And that's what we always say, that in politics, nothing is just done by the way. Nothing happens by a coincidence. Everything in politics is well planned, well executed, and well initiated for specific political gains. And in this reason, ladies and gentlemen, there was a specific intention for the people of Mount Kenya to turn against Rigathi Gachagua, especially the business-oriented people. The state wanted the people to turn against Rigathi Gachagua because they wanted to frame him so that the state could see that Rigathi Gachagua is the one responsible for the destruction of properties of the Kikuyus, who are the majority owners of businesses in Nairobi. And if you look at these destructions, When you go to Machakos, no destructions. To Kakamega, no destructions. To Kajiado, no destructions. But talk of Nyeri. If you go to Nyeri, there was massive destruction of properties. Here in Nairobi, all the shops owned by the Giguyus were broken down and entered into, and things were stolen. So this was a strategic move. It was not by accident. It was a well thing, something that was well planned, well orchestrated for specific political gains. And the political gain in this case was that William Ruto and his team wants to gain back the support of the mountain community, the Mount Kenya community, because as it stands now, that support that William Ruto enjoyed once upon a time, the support of the mountain already slipped out of his grip. And in an attempt to return to try and win the support of the Mount Kenya people, he had to set up Gachagua. And in this setup, Gachagua was to be framed as the man behind the massive destruction of the businesses of the community of Akikuyu. But this setup is not going to work, ladies and gentlemen, because Rigathi Gachagua has already responded. He has already responded and is demystified all these facts that has been laid against him. In the comment section, ladies and gentlemen, let me see what your take on this. You are there, you're watching, this is the first time you're watching us, you're yet to subscribe, kindly subscribe to this channel to support us every day, because here we bring you most of the Kenyans trending topics in politics, and we break them down for you. So the main intention of destruction, because if you look at the time at which the protesters ended CBD, these goons were vandalized. They ended when the cameras were switched off, when the media had retreated to their stations, when there was no Kenyans filming them. That's why you cannot see all this destruction. On social media, if you peruse the pages of social media, you cannot see many videos of these goons at the time of vandalization, right? You cannot see all of them. You can't see these medias. These clips on our social media pages. You cannot see them right now because what happened is that the goons were brought in at late hours from 6:30 to 7 to 8 to vandalize, and they had specific instructions to break up the shops and steal everything. For shops in OTC, for example, to be broken into from shop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 without any police officer showing up. This tells you one thing, that this move was well planned. This move was not by accident. This move was well designed. It was well orchestrated, right? Well orchestrated. Huh? It was well orchestrated, well planned. Ambia Tashachi kunipigia, ndampigia. Yeye ndo anapiga hapo. So, ladies and gentlemen, the move was well planned by the government in an attempt to frame Rigathi Gachagua and try to win the support of the people who are supporting Rigathi Gachagua. Because even if it is you, if you went into CBT, if you witnessed how properties were destroyed, you will not like it. You will not be happy with it. Because number one, massive businesses were destroyed. And remember, that business that was destroyed, someone somewhere is depending on that business to support their children, to support their family, to rear their family, and to do what also? To make sure that their family has something to eat. They are using those investments to pay school fees, to pay rent. Some are living in rental houses. They are using those businesses to make a fortune. For them to wake up one morning and find out that their stores were stolen or broken into overnight and stolen, ladies and gentlemen, is something that is not good at all. All right? It's something that is not good at all, and it does not bring anything reasonable in this Kenya, because where on earth can people break shops and no police is showing up? It tells us how bad things are in this country. When I went to CBD and I witnessed how shops were broken into, to me, it seemed like in this country, we do not have a government. We do not have a government because in a country where the government is committed to protecting property and lives of Kenyans, no such instance can happen without the intervention of the police. And up to now, ladies and gentlemen, we have not seen any arrest of the people who broke into supermarkets, the people who broke into the shops of Kenyans and went away with properties. This thing is distressing. This thing, ladies and gentlemen, is not appetizing at all. It's not something that is encouraging at all. For people to be able to break into a supermarket and carry out all the belongings, all the goods, evacuate an entire store for this case, ladies and gentlemen, it's something that should be looked at once more again. So in the comment section below, ladies and gentlemen, let me see what do you have to say about this entire issue of people breaking into supermarkets, people breaking into people's property, and the government is watching. Why should the government allow goons to penetrate into peaceful demonstrations and destroy properties of Kenyans? Right now, many people are running into depressions. People have taken loans to be able to put up those businesses. So it is something that it is very discouraging, ladies and gentlemen. It is not something that is encouraging at all, at all, at all. So in the comment section, so ladies and gentlemen, before I finish this video, let me see what is your take on this move, on this entire issue of the government allowing goons to infiltrate peaceful demonstrations and cause a lot of distractions that even nobody can account for as we are speaking right now. The very, very government that is supposed to actually take care and protect the properties of Kenyans. What's your take on this, ladies and gentlemen, as I finish? This is Siasa 254. We break down Kenya's biggest political headlines and make you understand what is going on. Like this video, smash the notification bell, and of course, subscribe to this channel to help us reach a wider audience. Until next time, bye-bye.